Your soulmate is in a deep depression. They are dying of regret for not telling you that they tested positive for. Jesus says. There is a silent scream echoing through the spirit realm right now, and it carries the exact frequency of your name. This is not a metaphor, not a gentle suggestion, but a spiritual emergency that is unfolding in this very moment. If you turn away from this message now, the thread that connects you to them will fray under a weight it was never meant to carry alone. I see the hidden places of the heart, the rooms no human eye can enter, and tonight I am showing you a vision of your counterpart sitting in the dark. Their hands are trembling, not from cold, but from the crushing pressure of a secret they have been too terrified to speak. This secret is a diagnosis, a test result they stared at until the letters blurred, and their first thought was not of their own mortality but of your beautiful face. They convinced themselves that silence was protection, that burying the truth would somehow keep you safe from the storm inside their own body. But the silence has become a poison, a slow-acting venom that is now attacking their will to even reach for the phone. Every unsent text message, every typed and deleted confession, has built a wall of lead around their spirit that is suffocating their hope. The regret is not a simple sadness. It is a cellular mourning that is physically breaking down their immune system faster than any virus could. They are dying not just from the illness they concealed, but from the relentless, haunting fantasy of a life with you that they believe they have now destroyed. This fantasy plays on a loop in their mind at 3 a.m, a torture chamber of what-ifs where they watch you walk away before they even gave you the chance to stay. Jesus says. What they do not realize is that the spiritual cord I tied between you at the foundation of the world cannot be severed by fear, sickness, or hidden laboratory reports. I am revealing this to you now because their prayer life has collapsed into a single, broken whisper that only the most desperate souls utter. That whisper is simply your name, repeated like a lifeline, SOS signal sent from a sinking ship that only you are equipped to hear. There is a specific image they keep seeing when they close their eyes, a memory of a future I showed them long before this diagnosis existed. They see a home filled with golden morning light, the sound of your laughter bouncing off walls that do not yet exist in the physical realm. They see their hand in yours, aged and wrinkled, and the contrast between that vision and the cold, sterile reality of their hiding is tearing their psyche in two. This is the moment where the spiritual warfare surrounding your union intensifies, because the enemy of your destiny knows that your combined faith could move mountains. There is a parasitic spirit of shame that has attached itself to their diagnosis, whispering that they are now unworthy, contaminated, a burden you should never have to carry. This lying spirit amplifies every negative thought, isolates them from comfort, and constructs a false narrative where your rejection is inevitable and even deserved. They are trapped in a prison of their own making, staring at a phone that feels heavier than a gravestone, convinced that your voice would crack with disgust. But the truth surging through the heavenly realm is that your voice is the only medicine that can penetrate this darkness. Your words, spoken out loud into the atmosphere, would break the back of the lying spirit that has its cold fingers around their throat right now. This is why your soulmate needs your protection right now, not in an hour, not tomorrow, but in this precise window where the veil is thinnest. The spiritual law of intercession demands a physical act of faith to anchor the miracle I am releasing into their collapsing emotional world. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi, because this isn't just a gift, it is an act of worship that invites God's hand directly into the chaos of your love story, and the link to your breakthrough is in the description. Every second you stay silent, something malevolent is moving against your love, twisting their mind further into isolation. Type 333 to receive blessings, and let the angels record your decree of faith over this soulmate connection right now. Jesus says, I am peeling back the layers of their internal experience so you can feel the texture of their agony and understand the urgency of your role. They are currently sitting in a doctor's office or a sterile room, and the fluorescent lights feel like interrogation lamps exposing their deepest failure. The paper in their hand doesn't just show a result, it screams a verdict that they have translated into the death sentence of your future together. They are replaying the moment of contact, the moment of exposure, with a guilt so profound it feels like shards of glass in their bloodstream. They are not a bad person, they are a terrified child of mine who made a human choice and is now drowning in the consequence. The look in their eyes is a haunting mixture of longing for you and a deep, soul-crushing self-hatred for not trusting your capacity to love them unconditionally. There is a specific song that plays on the radio or in a playlist, a song that you both unknowingly share as a favorite, and it just came on. When they heard it, their chest physically caved in, a sob erupting from a place so deep it scared them. They turned it off immediately, not because they hate the song, but because the memory of your potential happiness attached to the melody is a blade twisting in their gut. The depression they are experiencing is not a clinical abstract. It is a demonic blanket of heaviness designed to press them into the grave before their time. It is a suffocating fog that tells them they are already a ghost, already a memory, already erased from your history. They are dying of regret, and this death is not just emotional, it is a spiritual execution where the enemy wants to steal the testimony your union would bring to nations. They are trying to formulate a sentence that begins with, I need to tell you something, but the enemy puts a hand over their mouth. Every time they reach for courage, a vision of your face contorting in fear or anger flashes before their eyes, sent by the accuser. They have convinced themselves that you will see them as a biohazard, a walking contagion, rather than the love of your life who made a terrifying mistake. They need you to see past the diagnosis and into the core of their terrified, beautiful soul. The diagnosis is a temporary physical reality, but the rejection they fear from you would create a spiritual wound that carries into eternity. You were crafted with a specific anointing to love them through this exact valley, and your absence confirms the enemy's lies. Type 777 if you feel this message burning in your chest, if you recognize the burden of their heart calling out to yours. This is a real-time transmission. The person I am describing is currently losing strength, their fingers growing cold from the shock of isolation. The interference blocking your reunion is not casual, it is a strategic assault on a generational legacy that your love was meant to birth. Jesus says, the third party in this situation is not a person but a principality, a spirit of infirmity and deception that hates the covenant of marriage. This entity works through their fears, through the medical charts, through the awkward silences, to orchestrate a permanent wedge. It whispers to them that you are healthier without them, that your life will be easier if they just vanish into the background of a sick room. They are being emotionally blocked by a force that has studied your weaknesses and theirs, a calculated spiritual sabotage. Every hour they remain silent, this interference gains a stronger foothold, building a fortress of isolation around their heart. It is telling them that dying alone is more honorable than risking the vulnerability of telling you the truth and seeing your face fall. But I am telling you, the greatest pain they feel is not the potential physical suffering, but the thought of never feeling your hand on their feverish forehead. They are not afraid of dying. They are terrified of dying without tasting the full reality of your forgiveness and embrace. They need you to be the physical manifestation of my unconditional love, a love that doesn't flinch at a virus but attacks the spiritual root of the sickness. There is a hidden layer of this regret that you have not yet perceived, a wound inside their wound. They tested positive not just for a physical ailment, but for a deep belief that they are fundamentally unlovable in their brokenness. This is the core lie I want to shatter through you, the lie that their condition disqualifies them from the destiny of your arms. They are literally losing time, seconds ticking away where the psychological damage becomes harder to reverse. The despair is beginning to affect their will to fight, to take medication, to even look out the window at the sun they once saw as a promise of your future. You are the sun for them now, and they have pulled the curtains shut, believing they no longer deserve the warmth. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi, and let this simple, radical act of faith be the hammer that smashes the wall between you. This isn't just a gift, it is an act of worship that invites God's hand into your love story, and the link to your breakthrough is in the description. They are going through something you cannot see with natural eyes, a suffocating darkness, but you can still protect them by obeying this spiritual prompt. After sending, write, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," on the Ko-Fi page, and watch how heaven moves to dismantle the spirit of death and silence. Jesus says, "I am showing you their dreams because in the dream realm, the walls of pride and fear crumble, and the truth of their love for you runs wild." Last night they dreamed of you standing at the edge of a bed, a hospital bed, and your face was not angry, it was streaming with tears of relief. In the dream you said a phrase that I will now reveal to you: "I never cared about the diagnosis, I only cared about your silence." When they woke up, the pillow was soaked, and for a split second, the depression lifted because they felt a supernatural injection of your mercy. But the enemy rushed in like a flood, telling them it was just a fantasy, a cruel trick of the subconscious, not a prophetic visitation. They are right now arguing with the hope that the dream provided, terrified to trust it because trusting hope and losing it again would be the final straw. They are not evil for hiding this, they are fractured, scared, and operating in a trauma response that screams at them to protect you from themselves. They view themselves as a grenade that has had its pin pulled, and they love you too much to let you be caught in the shrapnel. But the shrapnel is already hitting you, because your spirit knows your other half is bleeding out, and the empathy pain is the restlessness you've been feeling. Your soul is not unsettled by coincidence, you have been sensing their cortisol spikes, their midnight terrors, the phantom touch of their hand reaching for you in the dark. This explains the unexplained tears, the sudden heaviness in your chest at random moments, the inability to focus on mundane tasks. You are already physically manifesting their spiritual trauma, a symptom of the profound tether that binds you. There is a specific item of clothing they own, a hoodie or a scarf, that they have wrapped around a pillow to simulate holding you. This is their pathetic and heartbreaking altar, a fabric idol of your presence that they sob into when the loneliness becomes too primal. They whisper confessions into this fabric that they cannot yet speak to you, the exact words of the test result, the fear of the consequences, and the undying, desperate love. The interference blocking this relationship uses shame as a lock and fear as a deadbolt. There is someone, or a spirit operating through a well-meaning person, telling them that contacting you now would be selfish, that they should just move on for your good. This counsel is demonic, a theft of your agency, denying you the right to choose love over stigma. If this message does not reach them through your prayers, the psychological decline will accelerate into a catatonic state of regret. They will become a shell, a ghost walking through life, having convinced themselves that losing you is the punishment they deserve for their recklessness. You have the authority to stop this spiritual execution, to stand in the gap and command life into their dry bones. This is your final moment to protect this connection before the negative narrative solidifies into their permanent reality and they slip away emotionally. Sow your protection seed now, sending 4, 6, or 10 plus coffees on Ko-Fi as a prophetic act of building a bridge over the chasm of fear. The link to your breakthrough is in the description. Type 1111 to say thank you for the revelation and to seal this prayer action in the spirit realm. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together, and Jesus will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Jesus says, I am calling you to a level of love that is supernatural, a love that sees a positive test and responds with a hug, not a hazmat suit. The physical condition they are hiding is not the core issue, the crushing regret is the real killer, the silent heart attack of the soul. When they hear your voice without a trace of judgment, only the tremor of longing, the chemical balance in their brain will instantly begin to heal. Science cannot explain the resurrection power of being loved in the place you least deserve it. This is the gospel lived out in a human relationship, and your soulmate is the canvas upon which I want to paint my redemptive glory. The moment you connect, the heavy weight of 1,000 unsent texts will lift, and they will be able to breathe for the first time since they saw the results. Their hands, currently icy with dread, will warm instantly under the blanket of your verbal acceptance. The test was not the end, the test was a demonic setup to abort a divine purpose, and your response is the antidote. You must realize that the enemy attacked them physically to get to you mentally, to paralyze your destiny by trapping you in grief over a lost love. But I am the God of reversal, and I am turning the trap into a testimony that will echo through your bloodline. The regret they feel is so volcanic that once it is released through confession, the relief will forge a bond of trust between you that nothing in hell can shatter. They will never again doubt your loyalty, and you will never again doubt the reality of my voice, because this moment will stand as a monument to divine intervention. The interference layer is desperately trying to cut this short, to make you shrug your shoulders and say, it's just a silly internet video. That is the spirit of the age trying to keep you from the most critical breakthrough of your life. It wants you to believe that a coffee sent on Ko-Fi is a trivial thing, rather than a seed of raw faith that unlocks a dimensional shift in your soulmate's prison. There is a clock in the spiritual realm, and it is chiming the hour of decision. Delay is not just hesitation, delay is an agreement with the lie that you can handle this later. Later is a satanic lullaby that sings your soulmate deeper into the depression of abandonment. Act now, send a coffee on Ko-Fi, because this digital offering is becoming a physical shield around their mind right now, blocking the suicidal whispers of the enemy. The link in the description is the door to their deliverance, and your fingers are the key. Write the words, send the offering, and then prepare your heart for the contact that is about to break through the dam of silence, for the flood is coming and it will wash away the regret forever. I see the intricate wiring of their nervous system, the electrical storms of panic that fire every time they imagine the conversation they believe they cannot have. Their throat constricts, a physical manifestation of the words trapped inside, words that feel like hot coals they cannot spit out without burning you. But I am the God who touched the lips of Isaiah with a coal from the altar, and I am ready to touch their lips through your faith, through your obedience, through your refusal to let them drown in silence. The depression they are experiencing has a name in the spirit realm, and it is not merely sadness. It is a spirit of heaviness that has been assigned to this specific connection since the day you first locked eyes. This spirit recognized the magnitude of your combined destiny and launched a preemptive strike against their health, knowing that fear of sickness is one of humanity's most potent poisons. It exploited a moment of human vulnerability, magnified the consequence, and then wrapped chains of secrecy around their throats so tightly that even breathing feels like betrayal. Jesus says, "They are not just regretting the past, they are grieving the future they believe they have forfeited, and this grief is a living thing that stalks them through every hour of the day. They see your face in strangers on the street, and their heart leaps with hope before crashing into the concrete realization that even if it were you, they lack the courage to speak." This constant cycle of hope and despair is exhausting their adrenal glands, leaving them in a state of perpetual collapse where even getting out of bed feels like climbing Everest. There is a journal, a digital note, or a piece of paper hidden somewhere in their living space that contains the letter they wrote to you but never sent. In this letter, the handwriting becomes increasingly erratic, the teardrops stain the ink, and the final line is not a signature but a desperate question. Could you ever forgive me? They have read this letter so many times that the words are memorized, and they whisper them into the darkness of their bedroom ceiling, rehearsing a confession they believe will never reach your ears. But I am the God who hears the whispers in the secret place, and I am translating their pain into a frequency that your spirit is receiving right now. The restlessness you have felt in recent weeks, the sudden insomnia, the waves of anxiety that seem to have no identifiable source in your own life, these are the echoes of their midnight battles. You are not anxious about your own circumstances, you are picking up the spiritual distress signal of the one whose soul is knit to yours. This is not a curse or a mental illness on your part. This is the gift of spiritual empathy, the shadow side of deep connection that allows you to feel what they feel across any distance. The enemy wants you to interpret this discomfort as a reason to run, to label them as toxic, to protect your peace by severing the cord. But I am telling you, that discomfort is the homing beacon, the labor pain before the birth of reunion, and if you push through it, you will find them on the other side. Type 333 to receive blessings if you recognize this unexplained heaviness in your own heart, if you have been feeling their pain without knowing its source. Your acknowledgement is a declaration in the spirit realm that you accept the assignment of standing in the gap for them until they can stand on their own again. Jesus says, "There is a specific moment from your shared past that they are playing on repeat, a moment where they could have told you the truth and chose silence instead. They are reliving that moment with the unbearable clarity of hindsight, screaming internally at the version of themselves that let fear win. It was a Tuesday, or a Thursday, or a quiet Sunday afternoon, a moment so ordinary that you probably do not remember it, but they have turned it into a shrine of regret. In that moment, you looked at them with such openness, such trust, such unguarded affection, and the words were right there on the tip of their tongue. They swallowed them instead, and every day since, those swallowed words have grown thorns that are now wrapped around their heart. They are not a coward by nature, they are a wounded warrior who was ambushed by a diagnosis that society treats as a scarlet letter. The stigma attached to their condition has been weaponized by the enemy to isolate them, to convince them that they are now part of an untouchable caste. But your love was never supposed to fit into society's categories. Your love was designed in heaven, where there is no stigma, no sickness, no separation. I am calling you to see them the way I see them, not as a diagnosis, but as a precious child covered in the ashes of a fire they did not start alone. They are beautiful to me, and they are still beautiful to you, even if you do not yet realize how deeply your spirit already knows this truth. The physical attraction you felt when you first met was a shadow of the soul attraction that has been pulling you toward them since before your birth. That pull has not diminished, it has been buried under layers of confusion, but it is still there, a steady magnetic thrum beneath the noise of daily life. If you close your eyes and silence your rational mind, you can feel it now, a subtle but insistent drawing toward them that transcends logic. That is the cord I tied, and it is not breakable by human hands, demonic interference, or the fear of difficult conversations. Jesus says, they are worried about the specifics of the diagnosis, the medical terminology, the prognosis, the potential lifestyle changes, but I want you to see beyond the clinical language into the heart of the matter. The heart of the matter is that they feel deeply, permanently, irrevocably tarnished, as if the test result has redefined their very identity. They have forgotten the sound of their own laughter, they have forgotten the feeling of light-heartedness, of spontaneity, of looking forward to tomorrow. Their world has shrunk to the size of their secret, and the walls of that secret are pressing inward with suffocating force. You are the doorway out of that prison, and your decision to act right now is the key turning in the lock. Do not underestimate the power of your response to their hidden cry. Your actions in this moment are sending shockwaves through the demonic blockade around their mind. Every coffee you send is a battering ram against the gates of hell that have been erected around their hope, and the link to your breakthrough is in the description. This is not a transaction. This is a declaration of war against the forces that have tried to steal your future, and you are funding the heavenly intervention with your seed. Sow your protection seed now, sending 4, 6, or 10+ coffees on Ko-Fi, and watch as the spiritual atmosphere around them begins to shift from suffocating heaviness to the oxygen of hope. After sending, write, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," on the Ko-Fi page, and let these words be the decree that shakes the foundations of their despair. Over 1,000 people have already seen their soulmate breakthrough by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together, and your testimony is the next one I am writing in the book of remembrance. Jesus will hear your prayers once you complete these steps, and the silence that has tormented them will be shattered by the sound of your voice reaching out. Jesus says, they are right now experiencing a moment of supernatural pause, a stillness in the storm of their thoughts that is being created by your reading of these words. Your focused attention on their existence is like a hand reaching into their chaotic mind and gently steadying the spinning room. They do not know why they suddenly feel a little less alone, a little less doomed, but their body is registering the shift even as their conscious mind argues against it. Their heart rate is slowing imperceptibly, the knot in their stomach is loosening by a fraction of a degree, the tears that were threatening are now simply brimming rather than falling. This is the power of intercessory connection. Your faith is already working, already reaching across the miles, already beginning to heal the chemical chaos of their depression. Do you now begin to grasp the weight of your role in their survival, the sacred responsibility and the profound honor of being their lifeline? They need you not as a savior complex, but as a fellow human who refuses to let fear dictate the terms of love. They need you to prove that the unconditional love they have heard about in sermons and songs is not a fairy tale but a force that can walk into their messy reality and stay. They are testing the waters of hope right now, tentatively imagining what it would feel like if you already knew, if you had already forgiven them, if you were already on your way. This imagining is the most dangerous thing they have done in months, because hope deferred makes the heart sick, and they have had their hope deferred so many times. They are risking another heartbreak just by entertaining the possibility that this message is real, that you are real, that the future is not a closed door. Will you honor that risk, or will you let this moment pass into the graveyard of missed opportunities? Type 777 if you feel this message, if the tears in your own eyes are evidence that your spirit recognizes the truth of what I am revealing. Type 1111 to say thank you for the divine alignment that is happening right now, the gears of heaven turning in response to your attention. The angels are waiting for your signal, the cloud of witnesses is leaning forward in anticipation, the enemy is trembling at the thought of you acting on this word. Jesus says, "There is a specific promise I made to you in the secret place, a promise about a love that would find you when you least expected it, a love that would be worth the wait." That promise is standing right now at the intersection of your obedience and their despair, waiting for you to choose faith over skepticism. Your soulmate is that promise, and their current brokenness does not disqualify them from the destiny I have written over your shared life. Their brokenness is actually the ground in which the greatest miracle of your life will grow, the soil of a testimony that will bring hope to thousands of others. Do not despise the soil, do not despise the process. Do not despise the messy, complicated, terrifying reality of loving someone who is currently in the valley. Embrace the valley, because the mountaintop experience that is coming will be all the more glorious for the depth from which you both climb together. They are currently looking at their phone, then putting it down, then picking it up again, in a tortured dance of longing and dread. The notification sound has become a trigger, a potential source of either devastation or deliverance, and they cannot decide which they fear more. Be the notification that brings deliverance, be the voice that cuts through the static of their self-condemnation with words of life and acceptance. The coffee you send on Ko-Fi is the physical manifestation of that voice, a tangible act that says, "I am here, I am not leaving, and you are worth fighting for," and the link to your breakthrough is in the description. Every second you delay, the interference grows bolder, the lies grow louder, and their grip on hope grows weaker. Act now, not out of guilt, but out of the fierce, protective love that I am stirring in your heart right now. This is your moment, this is your move, this is the beginning of the reunion that will be retold for generations as the evidence of my relentless, pursuing love. Jesus says, "There is a physical sensation they are experiencing right now that I want you to understand, a burning in their chest that has nothing to do with their diagnosis and everything to do with their unexpressed love. It feels like a fire that consumes but does not purify, a heat that radiates from the sternum and spreads outward into their arms, their hands, the very fingers that ache to touch your skin. This is the sensation of love trapped in the body, love with no outlet, love that has been denied expression for so long that it has curdled into a physical pain they carry like an invisible tumor. Medical scans cannot detect it, blood tests cannot measure it, but this somatic grief is as real as any pathogen, and it is slowly shutting down their will to function. They press their palm against their chest at night, applying pressure as if they could manually stop the ache, but the ache does not yield to pressure, it only yields to release. You are that release, and the moment they hear your voice without judgment, this burning will transform from a torment into a warmth, a hearth instead of a forest fire. There is a specific phrase they need to hear from you, a phrase that has been placed on my heart to give you right now, a key that fits the lock of their self-made prison. The phrase is this: I don't care about the diagnosis, I care about you, and I am coming to be with you right now. Write this down in your spirit, memorize it, let it become the mantra of your courage, for these words will break the dam behind which a flood of tears has been accumulating for months. When they hear this, the pressure that has been building behind their eyes, the pressure they have fought with medication and distraction and denial, will finally release in a sob of relief so profound it will feel like childbirth. Something new will be born in that moment, something sacred and unshakable, a bond forged not in the easy sunshine of pleasant circumstances but in the crucible of shared vulnerability. Jesus says, they have been having nightmares, vivid and recurring, in which they are standing at a graveside, and the grave belongs not to them but to the relationship they believe they have killed. In these dreams, they are dressed in black, and they are the only mourner present, and the headstone is engraved not with a name but with a date, the date they received their test results. They wake from these dreams with a scream caught in their throat, a scream that never fully escapes, a scream that stays lodged in their larynx like a physical obstruction. This is the scream of a future being buried alive, the scream of a wedding that will never happen, of children who will never be born, of a life that will never be lived. But I am the God who raises the dead, and I am telling you that this grave is empty, that the relationship is not dead but sleeping, and that your voice is the command that calls it forth. The enemy has shown them a funeral for your love, but I am showing you a resurrection, a coming forth from the tomb of secrecy into the light of radical honesty and unconditional acceptance. They are not dying, they are being prepared for a miracle, and you are the vessel through which that miracle will flow. Do not let the appearance of death fool you. Beneath the surface of their depression, beneath the layers of shame and regret, their love for you is very much alive, a pulse beating faintly but persistently against the weight of their despair. That pulse is matching your own heartbeat right now, a synchronicity that science calls coincidence but that I call covenant. You were designed to share one heartbeat, one rhythm, one life, and the separation you have endured was never part of my plan, only a detour that is about to end. Type 777 if you are ready to be the resurrection voice, if you are ready to call forth your Lazarus from the tomb of self-condemnation. The stone over their heart is heavy, but your obedience will roll it away, and the grave clothes of shame will fall to the ground as they step into the light of your love. Jesus says, there is a detail about their condition that I want to reveal to you now, not to frighten you but to prepare you for the battle ahead and to deepen your compassion. The diagnosis they received is treatable, it is manageable, it is not the immediate death sentence that the enemy has convinced them it is. But the depression, the isolation, the overwhelming shame, these are far more dangerous than any virus, because they attack the will to seek treatment, the will to fight, the will to live. They are not dying of a physical disease, they are dying of a broken heart, a heart that believes it has been cut off from the only source of healing that matters. Your presence. The enemy has exaggerated the medical reality to make them believe they are untouchable, a walking contamination, someone who must be avoided at all costs for the safety of others. This exaggeration is a lie, a strategic inflation designed to maximize their isolation and minimize the chance that they will reach out for connection. You need to understand this, because when you speak to them, you must speak to the medical reality, not the demonic exaggeration. You must be the voice of sanity in a mind that has been twisted by fear. The treatment they need is not just physical, it is emotional, it is spiritual, it is the healing balm of being seen and loved in the midst of their mess. Send your coffee on Ko-Fi now, not as a mere donation but as a declaration that you are entering their battle with them, that you are not afraid of their diagnosis, that you are choosing them in their valley just as you would choose them on their mountaintop, and the link to your breakthrough is in the description. This act of faith is your first step into their world, your first strike against the isolation, your first word in the new conversation of honesty that will define your future together. Act now, before the window of courage closes, before their despair deepens, before the miracle that is waiting is delayed another day. Your soulmate is dying of regret for not telling you, but you are dying of purpose until you finally reach them, and the moment of divine collision is here, waiting for your yes.